Hey guys, welcome back. So today I am explaining my off-camera flash setup for weddings. Now as we go through this video, if you have any questions at all, just leave a comment below and I'll be sure to go back and answer them. Or if you have any topics that you want me to cover in the future, make sure you leave that below too. And as always, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you can see more videos like this. Okay, so first let's talk about all the equipment that I use. So first off, let's back up. I have one flash on my camera and I have one off-camera flash. I make it very easy, very simple. I know a lot of other photographers will have multiple off-camera flashes, but I just like things to be pretty simple. So let's go over my on-camera flash. I have the Canon 600 EX-RT. They have a newer model out now, but this is perfectly fine. So this goes on my camera. And then for my off-camera flash, I have the, if you watch my What's My Camera Bag video, I didn't know how to pronounce this brand, but now I know. I think it is the Yongnuo brand from Amazon. It is very reliable, so much cheaper than the Canon version. Anyway, this is not an ad for this, but if you want to save some money, these are great. Anyway, this is the YN600 EX-RT2. So, and it basically looks identical to the Canon. It's not as well built, but I will say this has taken a fall on a concrete floor and it's been perfectly fine. Well, actually, besides, it did break off the little like diffuser panel thing that goes here, but I didn't use that anyway, so it's fine. Okay. And then as a light modifier, which I'll talk more about light modifiers later in this video, but as a light modifier for my on-camera flash, I use the mag grip and the mag sphere right on top. Then I have my light stand. I've had this for probably like 10 years because I had a studio at one point. I had studio lights. This is just an old studio light stand. It's just a light stand. It's nothing fancy. I think it goes up to like 8 feet, 10 feet. I don't even know. It's sturdy. It's great. All right, so here's my light stand, and then I have a little bracket adapter thing, and so I screw that on here. And then my off-camera flash, I have it pointed 90 degrees. It just goes on top here. I lock it in, and then we're good to go. And then for the batteries I use for my flashes, I use in-a-loop rechargeable batteries. They're super great. I love them. I used to have just kind of like cheaper rechargeable ones, but these are so much better. So if you're looking for rechargeable batteries, those are great. Also, everything I talk about, I'm going to link below. So if you need to check anything out, like the batteries or the flash or whatever, it's all going to be below in the description. So the radio trigger will automatically connect to my off-camera flash. So every time that this goes off, this one will flash. Let's talk more about this Canon flash. So the reason I love this flash so much is because it has a radio trigger built right into it. So I don't have to have any external triggers like a pocket wizard or anything like that. So let's talk about light modifiers. So on my on-camera flash, I have this mag sphere. Now this is optional. You don't have to have this. It does make the light diffused and prettier. But if you don't have the mag sphere, what I used before it was just this white bounce card. And I would just bounce my light up to the ceiling or a wall. Sometimes I would, like there's a wall right here. I would just angle it back behind me, and I would just bounce it. However, the problem is sometimes you shoot at a place with really tall ceilings. You can't bounce off the ceiling, or the ceiling is really dark. Like I've shot at places where they painted the ceiling black. And it just absorbs the light. It doesn't really cause anything to bounce off of it. Or I've shot at places where the walls are red. And if you bounce off a red wall, it's just going to cast red light back onto your subject. It's going to cause an editing nightmare. It's just a whole thing. So because of situations like that, that's why I really love this mag sphere. It's made of silicone, so it just smushes into your camera bag and it pops back on. Okay. For my off-camera flash, I do not use a light modifier. I used to use a white umbrella, which is okay. It's totally fine if you want to use an umbrella or a softbox. For my preference, I don't, because I want my flash to kind of blend into the background. It's pretty inconspicuous. Plus it makes it smaller. Guests aren't like running into it or have to like go around it or anything like that. So Mag Sphere on the camera, on the flash, on my camera, nothing on my off-camera flash. I do want to point out something though. Never point your flash directly at people. It is just not a good look. Not a good look. So don't do that. Either bounce it, use your bounce card, or put some kind of modifier on top, but don't point it directly at people. No, 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 no. Okay, so let's talk about camera settings. And this is going to be really different for every reception. I mean, it depends on how much light is in the room, how much natural light is coming in from windows. It's just going to depend on a lot of things. But generally, my camera settings are 1/200th for shutter speed or lower, because with your flash, you can't have it very high. The max is going to be 1/200th. My aperture is usually 1.8 to 2.8, just depending on what's happening at the reception. And my ISO, I keep it pretty high at usually 1,000 all the way up to 2,000, just depending on the room. After I have my camera settings dialed in, that's when I adjust the flash power. So on my flashes, I shoot on manual mode always for on-camera flash and off-camera flash. And so once I have my settings dialed in, depending on the room, depending on how far away I am from the subject that I'm shooting, that's going to determine my flash power. So usually my on-camera flash is going to be anywhere from 1/64th to 1/8. It just really depends. And then my off-camera flash is usually less power. So I usually have it about 1/28th, 1/64th, 1/32nd. It just is there to give just a little pop of light into the background and to create some dimension. Okay, so here's a tip. Make sure before your wedding day, so like the day before, whenever you're packing and getting all your stuff ready to go, sync your flashes together. That way, when you're running around like crazy, I mean, at least I am. I'm always running around like a crazy person. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're more chill. You have more time. I don't know. But if you're in a time crunch, this really comes in handy. Sync your flashes before, and that way all you have to do is just put this guy on the light stand, put this guy on your camera. They're synced. They're ready to go. Let's say that this one is not synced, which I always keep them synced, but if it's not, what you do is you come down here and you want to choose your mode first. So I choose manual, then come here to the little, I call it the lightning bolt. I'm not sure what the technical name is. And I press it until you see this little antenna looking guy. That means it's the radio wireless trigger. So once you have all that set up, if you go to your off-camera flash, turn it on. I have it set for manual, so it's the same way. And then make sure that this radio wireless is on as well. And it should automatically sync. And it should say slave here, and this one will be the master. So every time that this flash goes off, this one will also go off. Okay, so when I turn both of them on, I have this one set to manual mode. I have the radio wireless on. I have it set for the ratio to be A and B, so this will be the A flash, and then the off-camera flash will be B. I can easily change my ratio, so if I want this flash to be 1/32nd, I can make that happen. If I want the off-camera to be bumped up to 1/64th, I can make that happen. You know they're linked because they're both on green, and this one will be flashing. Easy peasy. Now, of course, the specific settings for your flashes are going to be different, so make sure, I know it's not fun, but make sure you go and check out your manual for your flashes. That way you know exactly how to set them and exactly how to sync them and how to change the manual flash power. So let's talk about where I position myself and where I position my off-camera flash. So my on-camera flash is going to be the main light source. And then the off-camera flash is just there, like I said, to kind of provide some fill light for the background. That way, when I'm shooting the bride and groom or anybody dancing, whatever it is, the cake, anything, whatever I'm shooting, it's going to be well lit from this flash, but I don't want the background to just be like a big black hole behind them. This is lighting up the subject, and the off-camera flash is going to light up the background. It is going to create some side light on the bride and groom, or it's going to backlight the bride and groom and create some really pretty rim light on them, and it's going to look really, really pretty.
Let's talk about where I am positioned and where I position my off-camera flash. So I either position my off-camera flash to the right or to the left of the band or DJ, usually, and I usually put it next to their equipment. That way there's less of a chance of guests bumping into it and knocking it over, and it's just not in the way. Here's the cute bride and groom. They're dancing. They're having a good time. Here I am, and I can either move to the right or to the left in a semicircle. Now, if my flash is here, bride and groom's here, and I'm here directly kind of in a line, I want to make sure that I'm kind of squatting down and making sure the bride and groom are completely blocking this flash. That's going to cut down on the haze that you get because the light is not going to come directly into your frame, and it's also going to create a really pretty rim light on the back of the bride and groom. If this is the flash I'm using here and I'm more on this side, that's going to create more of a side light. It's going to create a lot of dimension in your images. Now, sometimes I do end up moving the off-camera flash around. It just kind of depends on the room, depends on where they're dancing, what's happening. Sometimes I move it for the toast or for the cake cutting. It just really depends on the situation. So I thought it would be helpful to show you guys a few pictures from examples of when I've used off-camera flash. So at this wedding, I had my flash over here in the corner, and so you can kind of see from the shadow on the floor, it's just providing some light coming in this way, and then they're so cute. They're being lit up by my on-camera flash. And then for this image, my flash was over here 90 degrees of where I was, and so it's providing really pretty side lights on them. And it's also giving a little bit of light to the background as well. You can see especially on this guest face, this part of her face is lit up, and this is a little bit more in the shadow. So it is providing a little bit more light for the background as well. This image was a night portrait. So I have my off-camera flash on a light stand that's directly behind them. So that's just one way that you could use off-camera flash at weddings. This image, this is also an example of some side light. My flash was over here, and it's just providing light right here. And then my last example is this sparkler exit. So again, my off-camera flash is on a light stand directly behind them, and my on-camera flash is just lighting them up. And this is a really cool look because the off-camera flash lights up all the smoke behind them. I love using my off-camera flash for exits.
I really hope this was helpful. I know off-camera flash can seem really daunting at first. I know it was for me when I was first learning it. And I remember one time at a wedding, I brought my off-camera flash and I tried to set it up and I couldn't remember the settings and I was bumbling with it forever. And you know, at a wedding, you just don't have time to be messing with things like that. I ended up not even using it because I just couldn't figure it out. It was the whole thing. It was really embarrassing. I lugged all this stuff in, didn't even use it. So I know what it feels like to be really overwhelmed with something new, but I promise when you practice with this, it gets really easy. It just becomes like second nature. So I recommend do what I do. Make my husband stand somewhere, set up your flashes, and then practice on him, practice on your kids, practice on your dogs, your mom, your grandma. Practice on somebody. It really does get easier every wedding that you do with it, and every wedding is going to be unique. Spaces that you need to light are going to be unique. Where people stand are going to be different. So it's really just going to be kind of trial and error until you really get the hang of it. If you have any questions at all of anything I went through, make sure you leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. And as always, click that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. All right, I'll see you guys next time. So let's talk about light modifiers. That sounded weird. I'll say that again. Light modifiers. Okay, so someone's come up the stairs. Mama doing a video, guys. I told y'all. So when heck is happening out there? Well, I'm doing a video. You'll have to wait after my video. Man. That was a long video to shoot. Okay. What's wrong with me?